As I said, I don't like really talking about the media. This is not a media criticism show. And it's not great for any journalist to go around bashing the press because my colleagues don't like it. But I continue to feel compelled to speak up. And this week, a few things happened that in the last couple of days that make me just bonkers, angry and annoyed and frustrated. Because after 2016, when the press helped Donald Trump win by covering him in such a hostile manner, I urged everybody to think through the way he was covered unfairly. Same thing happened in 2020 and 2024. He almost won in 2020, and in 2024, he did win again with a big assist, ironically, from the very liberal press corps who had as their avowed desire to stop him from winning. And in this term, he should be covered tough. He should be covered hard. He should be covered aggressively, but he should also be covered fairly. And what prompts me to talk about the media again today is a few things. I said there's a couple instances, pretty prominent instances in the media that I want to highlight where the anti-Trump or anti-MAGA bias is quite clear. But really what spurred me was a conversation with what people in the press call a civilian. I was at a kid's birthday party over the weekend, and I talked to someone who, another dad whose kid was at the birthday party, and he's a civilian. He's not in journalism. He's not in politics. He's got a totally different profession, but he's super interested in the media, and he's fair-minded. He's not, aggressively pro or anti anything. But he asked me what I often get asked by civilians, which is, why is the media so biased? And what do people in the media think? What do people in the media whose work product, whether they're executives or producers or correspondents or reporters, what do they think? Do they think they're biased or they don't think they're biased? It's a difficult question to answer because I talk to colleagues all the time and I listen to them in public and they make various excuses. The big one you hear is, well, there's all sorts of biases. We're this biased and we love controversy and da-da-da-da. And it's true. I could point out a million ways Donald Trump is not covered hard enough, and that people in the White House don't like to hear that. But there are things that he does that don't get enough scrutiny. But part of it is the credibility. Again, if the press wants to cover Donald Trump credibly, if you're someone who doesn't like Donald Trump and thinks the press is too easy on him, you should share my desire to restore the credibility of what I call the dominant media. You should want several things to happen. Acknowledge the past mistakes, think about ways to get better, and then change your ways. And this week is crushing. I could not say to that civilian that I see soul searching or acknowledgement of the truth or a desire to change to do better. And probably the clearest example was something that happened in California over the weekend. Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, was speaking to a big gathering of Democrats. And in order to acknowledge the crowd, here's how Cory Booker motioned to speak to the crowd. This is number A104, please. So you see Cory Booker speaking to the California Democrats. He clutches his heart to say, oh my goodness, this is such an emotional experience. And then he raises his right arm. Now, I would look at that and just say innocent expression of his enthusiasm, his emotional reaction to the crowd. I would think nothing of it. I would think nothing of it except what happened last year when Elon Musk made the exact same motion. Okay, here's Elon Musk. This is 101. Again, Elon Musk, exact same thing. Moved by the crowd's support for him. Once again, you see the same thing. Clutches his heart, raises his hand up. And here you see, there's Booker raising his hand up in what you could uncharitably say was a Nazi salute. And then Musk, same thing. So what happened when Musk did it? I'll remind you, in case you've forgotten, when Elon Musk did that, there were days of controversy in the dominant media claiming that Elon Musk was somehow expressing sympathy for Nazis. Here's one headline from Vox. Elon Musk doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Elon Musk's Nazi trolling exposes the collapse of America's guardrails against some of history's phallus ideas. So this is ridiculous on 1,000 levels. It was back then. First of all, Cory Booker's not the first Democrat to make the exact same motion. Many had, and many conservatives pointed out at the time. But the notion that Elon Musk would be in front of a giant audience with live coverage around President Trump's victory would send some sort of secret signal to his secret Nazi sympathizers. It's absurd. It should have passed without comment, just as the Booker thing should have passed without comment. But because the press is so hostile to Elon Musk because he's a supporter of Donald Trump, he was accused of being a Nazi sympathizer. It's absurd. But this week, when Cory Booker did the exact same thing, you could see in conservative on X, you could see conservatives pointing out the hypocrisy, but no coverage of it. Cory Booker's spokesperson was asked about it by Forbes, an organization that did choose to pursue the question of how could it be that when Elon Musk makes one motion, it's a national controversy for days. And when Cory Booker does it, because he's a Democrat, it's nothing. She said, quote, Cory Booker was obviously just waving to the crowd. Anyone who claims his wave is the same as Elon Musk's gesture is operating in bad faith. The difference between the two are obvious to anyone without an agenda. I give that 17 Pinocchios because, again, let's look at it again. A101 again. Here's Elon Musk doing the exact same thing that Cory Booker would do several months later. And once again, there's no difference. Cory Booker's spokesperson can say they both put their right arm kind of on their heart, and then they raise it up in a what someone could say was a Nazi salute. But in neither case was it a Nazi salute. And again, you just can watch them side by side in sequence. It's the same thing. The exact same motion. One, because he's associated with Donald Trump, is a national controversy where he's accused of being a Nazi sympathizer. And the other, according to the spokesperson, is obviously different. No, they're obviously the same, but they were covered differently. This is, you could say it's a small example, but it's a great example of the unfairness of the media because of the bias. Okay. Now, let me give you another example from this week that really is an egregious failure of the press. This clown in Colorado who decided to attack people who are rallying around the hostages held in Gaza. Molotov cocktails, accused of a heinous crime. And the portion of it connected to anti-Semitism is obviously super important to discuss, and that was widely discussed. But what most of the dominant media ignored was the circumstances under which this gentleman was in the United States, here illegally. Now, you can get into debate about whether that's Joe Biden's fault because he came in when Biden was president, or whether Donald Trump should have removed him. But the point is, he's here illegally. And this is now another example of someone in the United States illegally who the press it takes pains to ignore. Some coverage of it, but most of the coverage of this case ignores it. Take a look.
A suspect now facing 16 counts of attempted murder and federal hate crime charges for allegedly firebombing peaceful demonstrators.
Hate crime charges for the man accused of using a makeshift flamethrower, Molotov cocktails, and a disguise in an attack that the feds say he planned for over a year.
I don't know why people continue to do this, but they do. And our hearts go out today to the victims of what authorities are calling a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado over the weekend. At least 8 people were injured in a makeshift flamethrower attack while gathering in support of the Israeli hostages in Gaza.
All true. But no one there highlighting what for many Americans is a critical part of this outrage. Donald Trump talked about victims of crime, of people in this country illegally in 2015 and 2016. The media ignored it. They did not put them on The View, the families on The View. They did not write long profiles about the horror of Americans who had to deal with the death or attacks on their loved ones by people in this country illegally. It's not an incidental fact for tens of millions of people. It's the most crushing and inhumane manifestation of an open border. Again, this guy came under particular circumstances. He came here originally to visit under legal protection, legal process, but then he stayed, and he grievously wounded Americans, including a Holocaust survivor. I don't understand how the press thinks that this is either not a factor or a small factor, when not just for President Trump, who has gone on social media about it, but for tens of millions of Americans. Every crime committed by someone here illegally is an outrage. And it said, and as I said, the most painful manifestation of an open border. People say, well, people come here illegally, don't commit crimes at the same rate as others. I don't know if that's true or not. I hear it touted all the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. One is too many. And the people who say that it's stigmatizing or unfair, no. What's unfair is the media that doesn't understand the importance of making it clear that they understand through their coverage what Democrats also seem not to understand, which is for tens of millions of people, there is zero tolerance for this. Zero tolerance. Now, I will say there has been some coverage of the fact that the guy was here illegally, but not nearly enough. It should be front and center, along with the fact that this was yet another anti-Semitic attack.